Hari Om. Gently close your eyes. Your fingers interlace and place in front. Your back, neck and head erect. Your breathing is normal. We will chant the mantra Om followed by Atma Bodha. Sahana vavatu, sahanam bhunattu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu mavit vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Pratasmarami Hrudi Samspura Datmatattvam Satchit Sukham Paramaham Sagatim Turiyam Yatsvapna Jagara Sushuptamaveti Nityam Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nacha Bhuta Sangaha. We will chant 10 shlokas from the Atma Bodha from verses 11 to 20. Nanopadhivasha deva jativarnashramadayah atmanyaropitastoye Rasavarnadibhedavat Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam Karma Sanchitam Shariram Sukha Dukkhanam Bhogayatanamuchyate Pancha Prana Mano Buddhihi Dashendriya Samanvitam Apanchikrita Bhutotam Sukshmangam Bhoga Sadhanam Anadya Vidya Nirvachya Karanopadhiruchyate Upaditritaya Danyam Atmanamavadharayet Panchakoshadi yogena Tattanmaya iva sthitaha Shuddhatma nilavastradi Yogena spatiko yatha Vapustu shadibih koshaihi Yuktam yuktyaavaghatataha Atmanamantaram shuddham Vivichya tandulam yatha Sada sarvagatopyatma Na sarvatravabhasate Buddhavevavabhaseta Swacheshu pratibimbavat Dehendriya-mano-buddhihi Prakritibhyo vilakṣanam Tatvrittik-shakshinam vidyat Atmanam rajavat-sadha Vyapruteshvindriyeshvatma Vyapari va vivekinam Drishyate bhreshu dhavatsu Dhavanniva yatha shashi Atma chaitanyamashritya Dehendriya manodhiyaha Svakriyartheshu vartante Suryalokam yatha janaha. Role of faith: not to criticize others or find faults. I know attitude, concept of devotion, have a purpose in life. Do not justify your actions. What toys that bring joys? Desiring versus deserving. So the previous topic was ego and complexes. Today we will discuss about objectivity. A person can have a purpose in life. A person can pursue the spiritual path with Shraddha, faith. A person is introverted, dedicated, devoted. Since the person is having a purpose, a person is performing action, striving to attain the purpose, understands the concept of desire, how the desires fulfill themselves, understands the concept of deserving, to pay the price, understand the concept of ego, superiority and inferiority complex. But a sadhak can get attached, impulsive, is not objective. Be it the path of karma, action, be it the path of bhakti, devotion. Purposely I am not using the path of knowledge here because when a person is performing an action, since we are discussing about spiritual path, needless to say the materialistic path, a person needs objectivity in one's action, not get involved, attached to one's own action. The very path. Same goes with performing that path of performing that action called devotion. Pursuing the path of devotion. So the point here is, without objectivity, be it the path of action, be it the path of devotion, a person can get impulsive, can get attached to one's own path. Where there is attachment, there is a decay, stagnation. So it is not that when a person is pursuing the path of knowledge, the intellectual path, that a person has to use one's thinking. In the path of action, when the person is performing physical activity, serving for a cause, there has to be intellection. When a person is using the feelings to get back to that self, you pursuing the path of devotion, also a person should use his intellect, not to that extent of a person using thinking in the case of pursuing the path of knowledge, that intellectual path. So be it devotional path or the path of action, that bhakta and the karma yogi both have to use intellect, be objective. So objectivity in this context will be not getting involved in one's own path, not getting involved in one's own action. It is the intellect which is supervising, policing the mind's involvement in one's own action. It is the mind which is getting involved. It is the mind which is getting attached. Physical body is only a vehicle, a carrier, performing action. It is the intellect which supervises the mind. So, physical body is gross. Subtler than the physical body is the mind. Subtler than the mind is the intellect. So, it is the intellect, that buddhi, which supervises the mind not to get involved in physical actions performed in the world. In that sense, objectivity stands atop on all actions, all activity in this world. So that's why I purposely said that a person can have a purpose in life, a person can be introverted, understand the concepts, but that very concept of attachment itself can ruin the very spiritual path. With great difficulty, a person has pulled oneself from the materialistic path and launch oneself, immerse oneself in the spiritual path. That attachment can be deadly there. As always, Swamiji always used to say, Swami Parsarthi always used to say, attachment to materialistic path is ordinary glue. Attachment to spiritual path is industrial glue. Super glue. It won't leave you. A person with great difficulty has renounced the materialistic world and gone to the Himalayas to pursue the spiritual path. He has got a small hut or a cave, and that possession, what he has is one begging bowl. They say that even that cave, even that begging bowl is enough to make that person get attached to that. There is also monkey menace in the Himalayas. Problem in the Himalayas, it doesn't allow the sadhus to perform their sadhana, their meditation. So whatever little food they have, they store it in that bowl or whatever, and they have one narrow-mouthed vessel. So to get rid of this monkey problem, monkey menace, they put that nuts in the vessel and keep it in a place. the monkeys come there, put their hand inside and pick it up. But now the fist is caught. Now they are not able to get out of the, get the hand out of that small narrow-mouthed vessel. So the monkey is interested in that petty nuts. And now, all that you've got to do is how to get rid of that. The monkey is interested in the nuts, not the vessel. But the monkey's hand is caught now in the vessel. Monkey is in two minds now. Whether to leave the vessel and along with that the nuts, or take the nut along with the vessel. But the monkey doesn't know that it can run along with the vessel. Same thing happens to us also, the human mind also. They say the human mind can get attached to anything. That very attachment to name, fame, power, position, status, family, wealth. For these sake, a human being can do anything for that matter. So the concept of ego and the complexes before we start discussing objectivity. So we discussed the poem called The Mountain and the Squirrel, which is talking about complexes. So I asked a question whether the chief minister is important or the scavenger is important, the managing director is important or the office boy is important. The ant is important or the elephant is important. When it comes to plants and animals, they don't have any problem. There is no comparison. So let us learn two words, Vidya and Avidya. Vidya means knowledge. Avidya means ignorance. Vidya, the Sanskrit word, is derived from Veda, to know. With, to know. Prefixing the Sanskrit word here, Vidya, gives the opposite meaning, vegetarian, non-vegetarian. So, avidya means ignorance. A person has gone through 4 years of engineering, is knowledgeable in the field of engineering. Son is not well, son or daughter is not well. Since the person has the knowledge of engineering, cannot treat the other person who is suffering from some ailment, ignorant in that field of medicine. Mother may be a doctor, his spouse may be a doctor. She can treat the individual. That individual, that lady there is knowledgeable in the field of medicine, but is ignorant in the field of engineering. A person has knowledge of French, is ignorant in music. That person who has knowledge of music is ignorant of dance or art. So all of us, we possess knowledge as well as we are ignorant in many fields. We say in English, empty vessels make much noise. So this concept of ego here is, when we understand that we are ignorant in the field, then we already gone through the concept of I know attitude, that surrender has to be there. So when a person understands the limitation of one's own knowledge and understand Okay, I should not enter into this area. This is my area of ignorance. That itself is knowledge. That knowledge here is that clearly demarcating, this is my area of strength and this is my area of weakness, this is my area of knowledge and this is the area of ignorance. In the area of ignorance, seek counsel from a person. Age is not the criteria. Who is knowledgeable in that field? Whatever be the field. Materialistic path, medicine, engineering, etc. To choose a career, or in the spiritual path, seek counsel from a person who is knowledgeable in life and living, who is able to do the thinking for you. So in that sense, what happens is, okay, I know that attitude reduces. Understand the insignificance, the futility of one's own existence. And that is what that concept of ego here is. Whereas the opposite is, I know everything. I can handle any situation. I am supreme. Everyone should serve me. I am the real doer here. Example will help. I'm sure all of you would have seen a puppet show. That puppet show, two puppets are dancing. The doll, the puppet is tied to a string, and one end of the string is being held by a person, a hand playing behind the screen. The puppets by themselves can't stand unless the string is attached. So there are three things here. One is the puppet, the second thing is the string, and third thing is the person behind. There is a limitation in this example. Please don't stretch the example beyond comparison. So the puppet is equivalent to our physical body. How that puppet has got no existence by itself, this physical body also do not have existence by itself. That's why it is called as insentient, no life. That string is equivalent to the mind and the intellect and the vasanas. So the gross body is the physical body, then the string is the subtle body, and now I purposely said the limitation is example. Now when a human being is there behind the puppet and the string, then there is no human being behind physical body, mind, intellect, vasanas. We give the name self, Atman or Brahman. There is no human being behind the physical body and the mind and intellect. The life principle. Now, if I ask who is performing action, one set of people will say the doll is performing that action, the puppet is performing that action. It's like saying physical body is performing the action. The other set of people will say it is the physical body not performing the action, it is the string which is pulling the puppet performing that action there. Same way, it is not the physical body which is performing the action, it is that mind, intellect and the vasanas which are performing, pulling that, animating the physical body to perform action. Another set of people will say that it is not the puppet, it is not the wire, it is the hand playing behind, that unseen hand. That unseen hand is the real doer. Same way, it is not the gross body, it is not the subtle body, it is not the causal body, it is the self, the Atman, that is the real doer. So when we are talking about ego here, then we are talking about that egoistic person who is attributing all actions to one's own. That set of people who say that I am the doer, I have achieved this, I alone can achieve this, no one is matched to me, equal to me, I have achieved this much today, I will achieve this much tomorrow. These are all the egoistic notions. I am the doer. The extreme is I am supreme. So when we're talking about the egoistic concept here, that person who understands that who is the real doer and that physical body is only an instrument in the hands of the self, the life principle, that person has reduced the ego or ultimately annihilated all ego. As it were, that the life principle is functioning through the physical body, mind and the intellect. A doctor is performing an operation. The knife has got a particular role to play. A scissor has got a particular role to play. So there are various instruments being used to perform an operation. That doctor is not holding all the instruments in the hand. Only that instrument which is required to perform that particular operation, specific operation, once the operation is done, it puts it back in its place. Exactly same way, friends, if we are able to identify with the self and pick up that physical body, perform that action, use the mind and perform that action called that emotion, use the intellect and perform the action called intellection. But in life it is all complex situations. So it is not that one time the physical body is in use and other time the emotion is in use and third time it is the intellectual personality is in use. All are intertwined. But if that person who has jnanam, knowledge, true knowledge, that it is not this physical body, mind and intellect which is performing that action, it is the self which is performing the action through this body, mind and intellect. That person has reduced the ego, understands that all are equal. The Bhagavad Gita says, whether it is a Brahmana, a highly qualified individual doesn't mean that he has gone from university or something like that. A person who has reduced all desires, has the true jnanam, understands whether a Brahmana by birth or whatever is equal to a Shvapaka, an outcast, a Shudra. So of the four castes, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, there is no demarcation here. There is no compartment here. Understands all are one. But in the dealings, a person will deal with that Brahmana in a particular way. When the person is dealing with the Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra in a different way, that understanding is that all are one. Plant kingdom is one. But when you are dealing with that banyan tree, when you are dealing with the mango tree, when you are dealing with the a lily or a jasmine, then that how to perform that action, what is required for that, how much water is required, how much manure is required, etc. But in general they are the plant kingdom. In general it is the animal kingdom. That understanding is that all are one. But when you don't deal with the same way how you deal with a cow, with a bison or a lion. In that way, there is no superiority complex or inferiority complex. So that person who is, a doctor treating life-saving beings to save human beings is also one. At the same time, another individual who is, a nurse, a housekeeping boy, all are one. That understanding that no one is superior or inferior, and that is what the concept of ego and the complexes is. So that complexes arises out of comparison. You see that comparison kills the very enjoyment of life. So siblings are there, neighbors are there. So this boy or girl is not good in studies, all that time compare, see your elder sister, elder brother, younger sister or younger brother, see your friend, your neighbor, Both of you are going to the same school. Why he's or she is able to study, you are not able to study? Continuously compare and then kill that very, enthusiasm. So all that we have to do is like how we learn from that poem there, The Mountain and the Squirrel. Ralph Waldo Emerson beautifully says, talents differ, all is well and wisely put. If I cannot carry forest on my back, neither can you crack a nut. So when a person understands this, then a person moves on in life, and the next stage will be not to get attached. So the picture of objectivity is beautifully portrayed by a wonderful poem here, Even This Shall Pass Away. Theodore Tilton talks about King of Persia. That amulet has been etched, carved with the saying, even this shall pass away. Whether it is wealth, whether it is friends, Theodore Tilton goes to an extent of conveying objectivity, that concept of detachment even in sensual pleasure. No bridegroom has ever pressed fairer bosom to his chest. Mortal flesh must come to clay, even this shall pass away. Outstanding concept. Because, don't mistake me, of all the activities, actions, when we perform an action, of all the 5 sense organs, only 2 or 3 sense organs are in action. Right now when I am performing this action here, there is no role for the nose to play. Though I am breathing, I am not smelling anything. I am not touching anything. Though I am sitting in a chair, I am touching this table. There is a book. There is a laptop. But this is not the same touch that when I touch another being. I am not eating anything. So the tongue is having no role to play. Yet I am talking. The tongue is twisting. So in any action, out of 5 sense organs, eyes, ears, nose, eyes are seeing, ear is hearing, your nose is smelling, tongue is tasting, the skin is touching. Touch. 2 or 3 or maximum 4 sense organs come into play. Again I am saying, please don't mistake me. For understanding sake, that objectivity sake, only in that sensual pleasure, all the 5 sense organs are in action. Therefore, it gives the sensual action, gives the maximum pleasure to a human being. Therefore, a person wants to derive that pleasure, though we are talking about that testosterone or whatever, I don't know. I don't know if I am using the word wrongly, please pardon me. That hormone creates that desire after a certain age. But whatever it is, that sensual desire is there in a man and woman, and that desire pushes the person to perform that action, and in that action all the 5 senses are in play. Therefore, it gives the subtlest happiness. Friends, therefore the maximum chances of getting attached. Our scripture has gone to that extent of saying that even that sensual pleasure is only, that act is only to place the seed in that womb. Therefore, that magnificent concept of ahuti is even conveyed there. In any action, you offer something and the other person gains something. So even in that sensual act, you are offering that sperm into that womb. And it is not that act that is important, it is the offering that is important. So the man and the woman is in the highest of thought, subtlest of thought, that thought of Atman or Brahman. And in that concept, that Ahuti offering is given. You see, the animals lead a very disciplined life. There is no indulgence, there is no overeating. Have you ever seen overweight impalas, underweight lion, a zebra? The perfect weight is maintained. Like saying 32 inches waist, and for a 5 feet 9 inches, 10 inches tall person, 72 kilos weight is maintained. It doesn't happen that way. Animals mate only in a season, and that is not for the sensual pleasure, and that is only for procreation. Those days, the rishis in the Himalayan valleys lived as husband and wife. They physically unite only when there is a thought of procreation, not for the sake of sensual pleasure. That is the height of spirituality. Continuing further in this poem here, since he is a king, he goes to Market Square, he sees his own statue there, 40 cubits. What is fame? Fame is but a slow decay. Even this shall pass away. We will get into the poem next session, elaborately, to discuss about this objectivity in every sphere of activity. How without objectivity there is no excellence. Since he is a king, at times he may have to go to war to fight a battle. A javelin, a spear has pierced him. Pain, he is going through pain. Pain is hard to bear. But with day by day, even this shall pass away. Friends come not to stay, even this shall pass away. Continuously, he takes every aspect of this world and he says, they are like visitations. They come not to stay, even this shall pass away. Ultimately, life is done. Life is done, but what is death? Even the concept of death doesn't worry a person. So the picture of detachment is beautifully portrayed here. The concept of coins, which is round in shape, not in a triangle or a rectangle or a square, because that concept of coin round in shape is wealth rolls. It doesn't stay with the person. In that sense, it is even this shall pass away. So if a person wants to excel in any field of activity, that concept of not getting attached, involved, has to be there. So what is getting attached? It is the mind which is getting attached. Subtler than the mind is, we immediately think in terms of knowledge. Whereas you see that person who has intelligence could be a scientist. Project is failed, extremely disturbed, attached to one's pet project. Could be attached to alcohol, could be attached to smoking. Traditionally, two things has worried human beings: wealth and woman. The entire epic Ramayana is talking about woman. Through that story of Ravana, the entire epic Mahabharata is talking about attachment to wealth through the story of Duryodhana. So even if you don't take those two epics into consideration, history tells us that people have ruined themselves because of these two attachments: wealth and woman. It is happening even today also, and it will happen as long as human beings exist. So if a person, that is what that name, all the, I'm not meaning any politicians here. It can be even a human being attached to even the president's post in Rotary Club, a Lions Club, honorary post. Could be attached to the trusteeship. The trust is worth nothing. Name, fame, power, position, status, family, wealth. So these are the 7 deadly attachments, 7 sins that we are talking about. So in this concept here, objectivity, I have to bring in this concept of desiring here. And then the concept of objectivity will be very clear. When we are discussing about desiring, at that time we discussed about obsession, getting attached to that very object of desire. Only when we detach ourselves, then this concept of that object of desire will reach you. I'll give my personal example. I wanted to go to the Himalayas. Thought was there, desire was there, but over a period of time I was getting attached to that very desire to go to the Himalayas. I used to book my ticket, then ultimately something will happen and that program will be cancelled. Ultimately, I powerfully suggested to myself that just drop this idea of going to the Himalayas. Believe me, it so happened I stayed in the Himalayas for 3 full months.